Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TCG Talk. Today, we are back with another tier list, which also always scares me because every time I do one, people get really upset. But we're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do a tier list based off the U.S. Nationals meta. We're gonna set some ground rules like we do with every single tier list I do. This is just my opinion. This is what I think. I'm not saying what I think is correct. I am saying it's an opinion, right? So if I put your hero where you don't think your hero should be, you know what? Keep commenting. You can comment all the negative comments because all it does is help people see my video more, and I'm okay with that. No, but all in all seriousness, like this is just an opinion. This is just for fun. This is not to be the end all be all list. This is just to have some fun discussion. I'm going to give my opinion based off the competitive meta and what I've seen, what I've played against, what I've played with, and also what I've watched in these events. UK Nationals doesn't hold a ton of weight with me. It does hold a lot, but it doesn't hold like end all be all weight because I think the US meta is a little bit more wide open than the UK, which is a good thing. And I think the UK kind of has some differentiations in their meta than the US does, just like how New Zealand has a slightly different meta in some ways and this, that, and the other. But we're going to get right into it. I did five simple categories. I did contenders. These are heroes that I think can win the event, legitimately win it, and everyone who plays this hero, if they play it correctly, has a good chance of winning the event. I put a top eight heroes that I think consistently make the top eight and are either a lock or near lock to make the top eight as long as they're played correctly, or you'll see them in the top eight. I made a day two, which is kind of just like strong heroes that are really good that are probably going to make it decently far into the tournament. Maybe not get top eight, may not win it, but there definitely be a top day two contender. I made a labor of love list, which is basically the hero is not trash, but the hero is going to not do good, but you play it anyway because you enjoy it. So that's kind of the way I look at it. The other thing is the last thing I want to say before we get into this list is the meta is so wide open that the difference between like a low day two and a low day two and a mid top eight is like this much, right? It's not a lot. So like don't get upset when it's a little bit different. It's just because I put someone in tier three and another one in tier two doesn't mean there's this wide gap between them. It just means that that's where I put them. So don't get so upset. We're gonna go ahead and start with Azalea. Azalea is in the Azalea tier. Can Azalea win a game at a call-in and at a nationals? Yes. Has Azalea won games at a call-in and at national level events? Yes. But she still is just kind of bottom of the barrel when it comes to the meta. She can't block. She has kind of one wing condition, and it doesn't work out. And since the meta is even more aggro than it's ever been, really, her list is going to get her wing condition and her margin of error is closed even more. So she's just down there. I'm not gonna like wait to put Azalea through halfway through the video. She's just down there. Again, you can win games with her. I'm sure someone will win a game with Azalea this weekend, but I just don't see her doing that much. Next one is Bolton. Okay, so the bias side of me wants to put Bolton in labor of love, but he did place top eight at one of the recent three events in the U.S. I'll probably put him at day two. Bolton to me is just a little bit one dimensional right now, and that's why I don't have him in top eight. I know he plays top eight, but I don't think he's a top eight contender. I don't think you'll see him in top eight personally. That's just me. He's going to have trouble racing the Briars and the Katsus of the world, which is kind of like in the UK Nationals, 6 of the top 8 were Briar or Katsu. Katsu's been top 8 several times in the US in the past couple events. Briar's even been top 8 the last 2 times. So in the side ProQuest events. So I think he's a strong day 2. I think you'll definitely see some Boltons in day 2, but I don't think you'll see him in the top 8. And that's just my opinion. The next one is Bravo. Bravo is definitely a contender. On two fronts, right? One, just Bravo in general is a contender deck. It won one of the events in the recent ProQuest in the US, and I think that it also is really set up to deck tech against Briar. I think Bravo is very good to fatigue Briar, and it's best poised to kind of combat Briar's constant aggro ability, especially if you put some life gain in it. I think he's just really good, and I think he has definitely a legitimate chance to win the event. And I can't wait to see. Hopefully, we see some really good Bravo play this weekend. Next one is Chain. Chain was hard. I want to put Chain in top 2, but I don't think Chain is going to make the top 8. If he does, it'll be one Chain deck. There was a Chain that made top 8, I think in Cincinnati, and in the Pro Quest, but I think that was a smaller event size. I don't think Chain players are going to be able to squeak through that top 8. Although if someone makes top 8, I won't be surprised. I think they're like as high as you can go up into day 2 without getting in the top 8. That's where Chain's at. I would honestly probably put Chain first on the day 2 list. Just it's a little bit harder for Chain to get past those really aggro matchups. They can't fatigue as easy, or they're more prone to fatigue. I mean, they can't hit those 25, 30 freaking damage turns with Rift Buy and Seeds. It's a little bit hard for them, so I would probably put Chain in day 2. For Dash, I'm gonna put Dash to top 8. I think there you'll see as long that the thing with Dash, I think Dash is really poised to do well in the meta. I think she can do decently well keeping up with Briar. I think she does really well into fatigue or like tanky decks like Bravo and Oldheim. I think she's really good. And I think there's a good chance you'll see like one Dash in the top 8. And there's been consistently a Dash in the top 8 for the most part in recent events. So I think she's definitely a top 8. That's where I have her. For Dorithya, I put her in the labor of love. I'm not saying Dorithya can't win games, right? I'm not saying Dorithya can't make day 2. She probably will. But most time when you're playing Dorithya, it's because you're a Dorithya main and you love Dorithya. I don't think Dorithya is as prevalent in the US meta. She's more prevalent in UK and EU meta. It's just she's going to have trouble with those Earth tokens. She's going to have trouble with a lot of the aggro matchups. Katsu is really good, can outrace her. Briar now can outrace her in Lightning. She can get out blocked and just out fatigued by Bravo. Dash does really well at poking damage at her, and can also fatigue her if it's kind of a control tempo dash. It's just not a lot of good matchups for her, so I put her in the labor of love category. For Kano, same thing. I don't have Kano as Azalea tier. I don't think Kano's that bad. I think Kano can win some games. I think at Vegas there was a Kano in like round 7 or 8, doing really well. Only had like 1 loss. The problem with Kano is the consistency. Sometimes you just draw up bad hands. You pitch to Kano and you don't get the cards you need, and you're pretty much done. The game's over. And in the super aggro meta, you can't afford to have 1 or 2 kind of bad hands. So that's why I would put Kano in labor love. Again, can I say Kano can't win games? 100% can win games. I just don't think Kano's going to be a consistent day 2 contender. For aggro Katsu, I'm saying aggro Katsu because I don't think control Katsu is here. People are going to get upset. Not upset. People might disagree with me. I'm putting Katsu in the contenders category. It hasn't won an event, but has been right there every time. There's been 1 or 2 Katsus in every top 8, and I think people are going to be teching against Briar really hard. And Katsu has a little bit more dynamic of an aggro style, and I think he could squeak through and possibly win the event. I'm putting Katsu there, and I think Katsu's going to do really well. And I think it's a contender. If not, he's like the top of the top 8, but I would put him in contenders. For Levia, I struggle with Levia because I had Levia higher earlier in the season. I just think she's going to have her and Rhinar both. I put Rhinar in S tier in my tier list video that people got really upset about it. And I'll correct myself, don't worry. And I put Levia, I think, in A tier. But I put her as labor of love. I think Levia definitely can make day 2. And it won't surprise me if she's day 2. I think you'll see like 1 or 2 Levias in the day 2 or maybe in the top 24. But I put her in labor of love because right now she's just not, I don't think is poised to do super well consistently in the meta. She's definitely 1 or 2 players could eke out and do really well with her. Man Saint's really good with her, right? There's a couple dedicated players that know how to play her really well and can do well. But overall, I have her in the labor of love category. For Prism, I'm going to put Prism in contenders. It's hard. So I want to put Prism in contenders. Prism obviously won Vegas, and she won a Pro Quest. I think Aura Prism is more set up to do really well against like these really aggravating matchups. I don't think Heralds are going to be as consistent against them because I don't think Heralds can quite outrace a lot of them. But I think that Prism's definitely a contender. It's really muddied between top 8 and contenders. Like, I think her and Katsu could both also be put in top 8, but I kind of put them in contenders because I think they both have a chance to win the event. But I think Aura Prism specifically is going to do really well. And I think that, yeah, again, I think she has a chance to win the event. So this is the biggest one where, like, I'll show you, like, if I'm wrong. I put Rhinar in S tier earlier in the season, and with this more aggro matchup, I think his intimidate factor isn't as intimidating, no pun intended. Rhinar's very good, can be played into a lot of different matchups, does really well. I just don't see him out racing a lot of these aggro heavy matchups. And because I play Katsu a lot, and when you intimidate me, I'm not going to block anyway most of the time. So basically, it's a race, and you can't outrace a Katsu or Rhinar most of the time. I'm not saying the game won't be close. I'm not saying Rhinar can't win games, but I'll probably put Rhinar in the layer of love category because you might see one or two make day 2, maybe one make the top 24, but I don't think Rhinar is consistently going to do as well. For Viscerai, I'm going to put Viscerai in day 2. I think aggro Viscerai or tempo mid-range Viscerai is really good right now, and I think people are finally starting to figure him out in this new meta, and I think that he throws a lot of people off because a lot of people, especially these high aggro matchups, aren't ready to deal with the null rune or the arcane side of things, as well as they could be, other than just like sideboarding some equipment in, but they really don't know how to play against it, like tempo wise. So I think he's definitely day 2. I almost want to put him in top 8, but I'm probably just going to put him in strong day 2 right now, probably in front of Chain. So if a Viscerai makes top 8, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think they'll mostly be in the top 24 conversation. And I think they'll just miss top 8, or if they get top 8, it'll be like one Viscerai. Just because the U.S. national scene, I don't think is high on Viscerai as other regions. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does well. But definitely a strong day 2. For Briar, no contest, contenders. I think Briar's going to struggle more than people think at the U.S. Nationals event because I think a lot of people are teching against Briar. So if you're playing Briar, I think every deck is good. Every deck from a player that's like decently seasoned is going to have a plan to beat you. And you're not quite as dominant as Chain was. You're just kind of the meta, right? For lack of a better term. So I think that that is something that it's going to be a struggle for a lot of Briars, but still heavy contender to win the event. Could do really well, especially Lightning Briar. We've seen Lightning and Earth Briar in top 8s, but I think Lightning Briar is more the consistent top 8er. So yeah, definitely a contender. It's kind of like a no-brainer right now. For Lexi, I have top 8. Lexi's placed top 8 several times in the U.S. ProQuest events, and I think she's really well. Her Lightning build is probably the more consistent one. And I think if we have one or two Lexis in the top 8, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think she's going to do really well. We'll see how she does against these high aggro matchups. I think she can keep up, especially with Shock Charmers and a couple other on-hit effects that you can give with her cards and her fused effects. And I think she'll do really well in the event overall. And then finally, we have Oldheim. I'm going to put Oldheim, honestly, in day 2. I think Oldheim, people are starting to figure him out a little bit past the sealed and draft meta. And I think he can do really well and fatigue a lot of people. His ice effect is going to hurt a lot of the aggro matchups. And I think you could definitely see some Oldheims in the day 2 category. And I think, it'll be really exciting to see what people do with him. But I see him making day 2 pretty consistently. So that's where I have him. This is my tier list. I wanted to make it quick. I didn't want to go too delve into it. Just kind of get my thoughts on the meta. I will say these 6 heroes, like, this is basically my top 8 heroes, right? It's just like which top 8 hero has a better chance of winning the whole thing. So I have 6 heroes that I think are top 8, consistent top 8 contenders. Bravo, Katsu, Prism, Briar, Dash, and Lexi. Outside of that, I probably would say that these people aren't as consistent for top 8. But this is who I have. Who I think is going to win the event, I honestly don't know. I really don't. Like, in me giving you a hero would just be ignorant because literally I think any of these 6 could win it. But I don't really have a number 1. It's really matchup dependent. It depends on how people have sideboard, how they've prepped against other heroes. It gets so situational at the top right now in the meta and it's so kind of rock, paper, scissors that it's almost impossible to give you an exact thought on who I think is going to win. But let me know what you think of the tier list. Let me know if you think anything I was off on. I try to be as objective as possible with it. Again, it's just an opinion. Please don't hate me for it. But if you disagree, it's totally fine. I love to hear your opinions. I love when people are passionate about the game and have differentiating opinions and can give their opinions, respectfully and and we can all talk about it. And it's great that we even can have different opinions. It shows how balanced the game is right now. But if you like this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Go to another Flesh and Blood creator, do the same thing for them so we can get more people seeing this game. Let me know in the comments what you want to see more of in the future. I'm really trying to make differentiating content. I'm going to make some new content for new players and intermediate players, trying to get more tips and tricks on how to get better at the game and things that have worked for me personally. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in this video. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys next time on TCG Talk. Thanks so much.